If you'd like to take a couple of deep breaths before we transition into the next bit, you're free to do that. So just take a moment to give yourself what you need right now to be present for the rest of the hour. If you'd like to switch off your camera while you stretch, that's perfectly fine as well. Paul,
looks like Paul,
is there
Paul has a question.
Yeah, Paul,
I have a question. Yeah, it wasn't clear. I may have to go to bed within the next hour. Is this going to be the whole 28 hours is going to be on YouTube or not? I didn't quite catch that.
So
is it going to be recorded so that we'll have access to see any of these on YouTube or any other kind of place?
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Reena.
And if so, for
Yes,
how long? For how long then? 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months?
Jim will send an email to everyone who has registered. So Paul,
Yes,
make sure
right.
that you have registered.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people have joined and they've not registered yet.
Okay.
So that's the thing. And the YouTube link is a private link. So yes, you will get access to it. And I think it'll be for a longer duration.
Okay.
So you may want to rest now.
Maybe so, yeah. Maybe so.
For some time and come back soon. Okay.
So, so I have a question. I registered, but a friend told, I have an NVC group that I go to every week, and she told us about this, and I immediately registered, and I got no email today to say how to get on. So I went to my friend and said, well, I tried to re-register and it said, you're already registered. So there was nothing I could do. And I went to my friend and said, hey, I can't get on. I got no email with the link. So what do I do now?
We look into the labs that you didn't get the Zoom link and send it out because there are now 800 plus people who have registered, and you will get the recordings. Francesca, I'm glad you could reach out to your friend and you're here now. So I'll hand over to Ranjitha. Yeah.
So, but how will you know who I am?
Since you have registered, there is a record. Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't understand what you said.
You have, Ranjitha,
I'm going to make a suggestion. There's two things. One is if you could check your spam and promotions, because sometimes emails that are sent out to a large number of people, Gmail sends it there. And the second, maybe Reena Francesca could send you her email address so you could double check if it's on the list.
Okay, I'll check.
Would that work for you?
Yeah, I'll check the spam. I didn't get the what your second. Reena's going to do what?
If you could message Reena privately with your email address, and maybe Reena can check if you're on the list.
And how do I do that? How do I do that?
Yeah, you can do that on Zoom. Do you know how to send a private message on Zoom?
You mean chat?
Yes.
Okay. So tell her my email address?
Yes.
And Reena can check. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here to celebrate the launch of Jim Mansky's new book, Pathways to Nonviolent Communication. I'm excited about seeing some familiar faces, seeing many people I haven't met until now. So I'm really looking forward to spend this time with you. And I'm hoping to contribute to needs for learning, awareness, community. Each of the presentations during this event, there are 28 presentations in total. Every single one of these relates to one of the skills on the matrix, the Pathways to Liberation matrix. And this is a tool that was developed about a decade ago by 4 people, Jory Mansky, Jake Gottwals, Jack Lehman, and Jim Mansky. And the purpose of the matrix is to support self-assessment in the skills and consciousness of nonviolent communication. I found it a very supportive tool to really look at where I am in my practice and what I'd like to do to grow into my learning edges. So in a few minutes, I'm going to be sharing my experience of responding to receiving anger that relates to the skill of responding to another person's reactivity. I'm noticing that I'm hearing some background noise. So if you're not speaking, could I ask that you mute yourself? Yeah, when we have a large number of people, it helps us keep the line clear to be able to do that. Thank you. Yeah, before we begin, I want to say a bit about the Center for Nonviolent Communication. CNVC was started by Marshall Rosenberg and his colleagues more than 35 years ago to help make NVC available to anyone who'd like to learn it. And since then, CNVC has developed a network of certified trainers around the world and a whole bunch of certification candidates who are coming up to be certified trainers in the next few years. Now, because of the effects of the global pandemic, CNVC has lost the main source of its income, which is IITs that happen around the world. And though there have been other ways in which CNVC has been trying to plug this gap, we still need your support to reach this mission. So there's two ways in which you can support CNVC. First, buy as many copies of Jim's book as you'd like. All of the proceeds from Jim's book, both from Jim and from the publisher, Puddle Dancer Press, go towards CNVC's sustainability. And you can also make a contribution to CNVC. Rina is going to be putting both of these links into the chat. So if you'd like to, I'd be super grateful. Right. I'd like to begin now with maybe inviting you to share. The topic I'm sharing about is receiving anger, and the matrix skill this is about is responding to another's reactivity. How do I respond to someone who's getting reactive in an interaction I'm having with them? The question I'd really love to hear from you is, what is it that makes it challenging for you to respond to someone's anger? What is it you find hard about receiving another person's anger? And you could put that into the chat. And I'd also like to take one or two voices. So if you'd like to speak to the group, please raise your hand and we'll come to you. Yes, Maida, I see your, yeah. See it as a personal attack. Carrie, yes, I see that it's, yeah, you're shutting down. Savitri, would you like to share?
Yeah, the blame and the personal attack. Yeah.
So you're hearing blame, and that makes it hard for you to stay grounded.
Okay.
Yeah. And Jan?
I hear a lot of blame and criticism directed at me. And sometimes there isn't even any. And that's what I hear. And I'm not even aware that I'm misinterpreting the observation.
So I'm hearing two parts to this. One is that sometimes there's the explicitly mentioned blame and criticism, and sometimes there's the blame and criticism I'm hearing, even when it's not contained in the other person's words. And I'm also taking a look at the other responses that are coming into the chat. And yeah, thank you for sharing where you are. One of the reasons I picked this topic to present today was because this is something that I particularly felt challenged by and continue to feel challenged by at some moments. When someone I know is expressing their anger, and especially if they're reacting to something that happened during our interaction, it can be a bit, more than a bit, very challenging for me to stay grounded and to respond to them, not react. And this is, I'm really enjoying that the session comes after Eric's session on taking ownership of needs, because I think the understanding of that plays a part in how I'm able to respond to someone's anger. So when I remember earlier being at the receiving end of someone's anger, what comes up for me is, I'm remembering this sense of helplessness. I'm remembering having experienced intense shame and guilt, freezing sometimes, or even reacting back. And it wasn't very hard for me to see that neither of these approaches was working. So I had two options, essentially. One was I would shut down because I just didn't know what to do. The second was to react back, because it's almost like being caught up in that being caught up in okay, the word, I'm not finding the word now, but it's almost like there's a cyclone and I'm caught up in it. And it's not something that I'm doing very consciously. And it wasn't very hard for me to see that neither approach was working, neither shutting down, nor was reacting back working. And it was fairly obvious that reacting in this way to someone's reactivity doesn't help much. Sometimes it actually makes things worse. It takes us downhill when we're there. I'm recalling particularly a couple of years ago when I was going through a really rough patch, when there were interactions where there was constant anger coming back at me. And remembering that I really had the strong sense that I was shutting down on the inside. I wasn't able to do anything. I wasn't able to say anything. I wasn't able to process anything. I wasn't even able to hear the words the other person was saying. All I remember was feeling a sense of dread in my stomach. That's the only thing that I could notice. But otherwise, I had this sense of being blank, and sometimes for a long time after the interaction. So forget about responding. I wasn't even able to stay present to my own experience. And it's something that I sort of worked on little by little, step by step, and I'm going to introduce a practice that supported me with this. I'm going to take a moment now to pull up the matrix. Just going to share my screen so you can take a look at this. So if you were here for Eric's presentation, you remember he walked us through the 4 steps: unskilled, awakening, capable, and integrated. So when I am in moments when I'm unskilled, I have no knowledge of this. So I'm reacting habitually with defensiveness, submissiveness, or avoidance when the other person is triggered. So this looks like the shutting down that I described to you. This looks like yelling back at the other person who's angry, essentially meeting their reactivity with my own reactivity, or just leaving the situation. In the awakening phase, I'm able to notice my own habitual reactions and their effect on communication. This is exactly what I talked to you about. I noticed that this was happening. Sometimes the noticing takes time. I can only notice it in retrospect. And I notice what's happening, and I notice that it's not working. And that's as much as I know in this moment. Gradually, in some interactions, I started building my skill to be able to move into the capable category, which is being able to stay connected to myself, being able to choose empathy or honesty when the other person is reactive, and having a bit of a wondering around, I wonder what's happening for the other person when they're angry. And integrated, where I hope to be someday, to really be able to respond to others' reactivity with centeredness, to sort of not get consumed by their anger, not to be thrown off to the extent that I really need to work my way back. It's about staying grounded. Even as I receive the other person's anger, I can connect with myself, and I can accept the other person, and I can accept that they're triggered. Being really present to both myself and to the other person. You can look this up in the matrix. Rina, if you could put the link into the chat so you can take a look at this and take a look at where you are in different interactions. I notice, and Eric was saying this as well, I noticed that in different interactions and in different relationships, I place myself in a different category because it's all relative. I'm going to leave this up for another moment in case you want to take another look at it. Now, how do I build this capacity to respond to reactivity? There are a couple of things that help me. The first is integrating the practice of NVC. I understand that I'm not responsible for the other person's feelings. The other person is angry, and I heard, I think Jan and a couple of others say this, is something along the lines of assuming responsibility for their anger. So when they're expressing themselves, I'm blaming myself on the inside. I'm jackaling in. Now, there's one thing about understanding this cognitively is one thing. The other is to actually be able to connect to this and remind myself of this in the moment when I'm receiving the other person's anger. Because what I noticed was, even when I knew this, it was hard sometimes to trust it in the moment. I was so consumed by guilt, shame, fear sometimes, that there was little space inside of me to acknowledge that this was actually an expression of the other person's needs, or even to wonder, I wonder what's going on for them. So for me, responding to reactivity begins with being present to what's happening. It begins with being able to acknowledge my inner experience, what arises within me when someone's reacting to anger. It's only when I'm able to acknowledge what's happening, it's only then that I'm able to make a conscious decision to pause. And it's only when I make a conscious decision to pause that I'm able to choose my response. So there's a couple of steps there. One is about becoming present to my inner experience, taking a pause, and then choosing my response. So it's sort of a 3-step process. And for me, becoming aware of my experience and choosing to pause is the foundation of responding to reactivity. That's really the key to build my capacity to respond when I'm receiving anger or any other intense emotion for that matter. I'm going to pause for a moment to see if there's any questions or very brief reflections. I'd love to hear a voice or two around this. And I'm hearing a request to repeat the 3 steps. I'll say it, and maybe Reena, if you could put that into the chat. The first step is for me being present to my experience. The second step is taking a pause. And the third step is choosing my response. I'd love for us to spend a couple of minutes to see if there's any reflections or questions that come up around this before we move into the practice. Yes, Iman.
I'd like to ask about why it's very difficult to apply this for our nearby person, our beloved person, like the parents or our daughter. It's really difficult to go through the steps rather than to go for these steps with other people. I feel it's more easy. But for the people who are nearby, and I'd like to support them, sometimes the emotions is running and the floods is there. And this is keep me in an unbalanced situation. Sometimes I cannot hold the feeling to come out and the emotions to be there. So I don't know how to make it more easy for myself.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Iman. What I'm hearing is the closer we are to someone, the harder it can be to really be present, to step back a little and take a pause. And I'm imagining there are a lot of people here who would resonate with this experience. And my experience is that the closer I am to someone, the more responsibility I sort of assume for their emotions, because of the intimacy, the closeness in our relationships, because of how much I care for them, because of how much I want for them to be perhaps at peace. I want for their problems to go away because I care for them so deeply. The more I want that, the harder it is for me to acknowledge that I'm not responsible for their emotions. So then that becomes an opportunity for me to really take a deep breath, practice self-empathy, remind myself, and then move back into the conversation. And that said, acknowledging that it can be challenging. Perhaps it's more challenging to do that with somebody I know and love very deeply than it is to do with somebody I don't know very well. Does that answer your question, Iman?
Yeah, it's a little bit more easier, but to talk, it is something. And when I'm practicing, really, I find this difficulty is coming out to me. I became better a little bit, yeah. Maybe I take very few steps towards it. But for the people who are nearby to me, and I don't like them to be sad or upset, it's sometimes making me firing, you know. I am firing for them. I feel that I have to put these people like my parents in a very peaceful situation. I don't like them to be stressed or to be angry, and I have to do for them whatever they want anytime. And sometimes it's difficult for you to fulfill all the needs of this people.
Iman, what I'm hearing is that you have such strong needs for contribution and reassurance that it's hard for you to take a step back.
Yeah, I feel, yeah. Maybe I'm so attached to them because of this. I have to maybe loosen myself a little bit and try to take these steps. I will do my best. Anyhow, we are still in the awakening points.
Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to play with this. And I'm hoping the rest of the session gives you a couple of hints about how you can build that capacity.
Thank you very much.
I see two hands up.
Ranjitha, there are two hands up, Onsa and Jane.
And Jane. Yeah. Onsa first.
Yes, hi.
Onsa, I'm hearing a lot of static.
Okay. Do you hear? It's okay?
Yes, I hear you.
During there is some situation, especially with my kids, where I feel a lot of feelings, emotions. When there are sometimes I can't be present for myself. I have difficulty to do that. Is it possible to make the choice to go in another place, to calm down and then react, or maybe not react but respond?
Yeah, what I'm hearing is you'd really like a way that supports you to come back to this interaction with a conscious choice. Yeah. And yes, I'd like to come back to this maybe towards the end of the session. And yes, I'd say find your way of like what works for me. Perhaps that's something you could think about a little. Yeah. So find your ways, find your own strategies to do this. And Jane.
Amazing. Hi everyone, this is amazing. What an incredible workshop. Thank you so much for this. Okay, so actually just as I was trying to formulate my question statement thing and keep it to the point, Mira typed, hard to do when the child brings out feelings of guilt. And very briefly, I have a situation where my only child is now a teenager and has estranged herself from me for the past couple of years. It's been it continues to be extremely painful for me. But I'm grateful to her because she woke me up to the fact that I need to take responsibility for what's going on. And so what Mira's kind of said there about, you know, there's an intricate bond between parent and child that, you know, when the child says, and you did this and you did that, and it's because of you that I now have a stuffed up life, and, you know, and I've come to the place where I can say, like, I agree. And mea culpa, because I'm the parent here, you were the child. And I want to say a whole lot more to her, like, hey, I know now that I was unaware, I was stumbling in the dark. I know now that I was repeating the shit that my parents piled on me. I know so much. But in my presence, I have to kind of hold all that stuff, right? Which in a way is, you know, I want to say, yes, I'm guilty, but, right? So I think what's happening is I want to give her space, but I also am very aware that I would like my child to give me space too. Like, so I'm not really sure what my question or point is, I guess, but Mira said something about, you know, oh, that's right. You want to take on the blame when the anger seems justified. And I just want to say, lay it on me, baby, because if that makes you feel better, I want to soak up all your anger. But then the present part of me also says, is that actually really a helpful, healthy thing for me to do? There we go.
Yeah, I'm actually hearing a couple of things. One is that how extremely challenging it can be to receive someone's the intensity of anger when there's so much pain, when there's so much possibly story behind that. How you're really wanting to create that space for your daughter that supports her in expressing herself where she is and give her a sense of being heard. And another one that's wondering about whether this is supportive as well. So I'm hearing two strategies to possibly meet this need for support, and you're wondering about whether that works, sort of being torn between the two.
Yeah. Thank you.
Was there something specific you were hoping to hear back from me?
I struggle to find what is my point, I guess, sometimes. And I think as you were speaking to me, Ranjitha, you made me aware, or I felt aware that I'm worried that, you know, sort of allowing the torrents of rage to fall upon me may somehow facilitate, because she'll then hang up. You know, I feel, yeah, sometimes I manage to say, I need to take a breath here, you know, and she will allow me to do that now. But I'm afraid that giving her that space and being aware of myself is also facilitating some sort of unhealthy torrent of rage. Yeah, so there isn't anything specific, I think, Ranjitha, thank you. But yeah, it's just thank you for letting me explore this.
Thank you for sharing, Jim. So I'd like to invite you to practice what it means to find this pause. Reena, if you could start setting up the breakout rooms in pairs while I instruct the exercise. So I'd like you to take a moment to just take a moment now to identify a recent situation where someone reacted with anger to something you said or did. So take a moment to identify a situation where someone reacted with anger to something you said or did. And as a guideline, I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10 of intensity, with 1 being, it's so not intense that I don't care, and 10 being, wow, this is super painful for me. Please pick something that's a 4 or a 5. It could be a situation in which you actually did receive an angry reaction, or it could be a situation in which you're worried somebody will give you an angry reaction. That's fine too. So just take a moment to think about it and note it down for yourself. I'm going to, and as you do this, I'd like you to note down one sentence that we'll call the trigger statement that expresses the intensity of the other person's anger. Note down one statement, we'll call it the trigger statement, that expresses the intensity of the other person's anger. I'm going to be inviting you to practice in the breakout room. You won't be asked to share the details of the situation, but I will ask you to share the statement with your partner. So please pick a statement that you're comfortable sharing with someone else. So identify the situation, and identify the trigger statement. Richard.
Would it be possible to give an example of what a statement would be?
Thank you. An example of that is something that triggers me is hearing, you say you'll do something, but you never do. That's an example. Yeah, something that triggers reactiveness within you.
I'm a little confused though, because I thought this is about them being angry and how I react to it. So what I just heard you say is I'm having the feelings, not them.
So yeah, I'm okay, maybe let me, what we're going to practice in the breakout rooms is that somebody is going to react to me. They're going to get angry. They're going to share their anger with me. And what I'm going to practice is how I can move into a response space. So the statement I'm picking is, say, somebody else in my life tells me, you say you'll do something, but you never follow up on it. And I know that, you know, that sort of in turn stimulates reactivity in me. And I'm going to explore how I can move into a response space. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the nudge to clarify. Now, Reena, are we ready with the breakout rooms? Yeah,
we are ready. And Sanjana has a question. Richard, I think, just asked, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Richard just did.
And could you tell me how many minutes? Is it 15 minutes?
We're going to take, yes, 15 minutes in the breakout room.
Okay.
12. Let's take 12. Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
I don't see Sanjana's question. Yeah, Sanjana.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, sometimes it's not so much the words, like when you say a trigger statement, sometimes it's also the body language, which truly triggers. So is that okay? I mean, to express?
Yes, that's fine too.
Without the words, the body language just totally triggers you.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to, this is what I'd like you to do in the breakout rooms. So in the breakout rooms, now you'll be pairs in the breakout room. Please ignore person C. Decide who goes first. And then suppose if I'm in a breakout room with Reena and I'm person A, I'm going to tell Reena, this is the trigger statement. This is the statement the other person made that leaves me reactive. So Reena is going to deliver the trigger statement to me. When I receive the statement, I'm going to check in with myself about how I'm feeling in my body. Now, whether you want to verbalize this and relay this back to the other person is up to you. The intention is to notice how you feel when you receive the other person's reactivity. And then Reena is going to give me another 40 seconds or so and give me the trigger statement again. So I have another chance to check in with how I'm feeling. Take a moment to notice what physical sensations you've experienced. The couple of times your partner delivered the trigger statement to you. You may want to write it down briefly for yourself so you can refer to it later. That's up to you. And once you're complete, let your partner know, switch so that your partner can notice their sensations in their situation. Reena is also going to put these instructions into the chat, so you'll have access to them once you're in the breakout room. You'll have about 12 minutes, which gives each person about 6 minutes. So I'd suggest don't spend too much time deciding who goes first. Jump into the practice as soon as you can. The intention of this is to really notice the signs of reactivity within our bodies. What am I noticing in my body that tells me that I'm reacting to the other person's anger? That for me is the first step to taking a pause. And once you notice the reactivity, you might want to take a deep breath. And then your partner shares the statement, delivers the statement to you again. Are there any questions about the practice? Anything that's unclear that you'd like clarified before you moved into the breakout rooms? Okay.
So I'm only looking at my feelings. Yeah.
Yes, the idea is to notice. The idea is to notice what comes up for me when I receive the other person's anger.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the practice. That's all I do.
That's the practice. That's step one for
Don't
me.
respond.
Yes.
I don't respond and converse on this issue.
It's
No.
about noticing.
Okay.
All right. So we'll take about 12 minutes in the breakout room and we'll send you a reminder halfway through so that you know to switch. So I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, the breakout rooms are ready and it's 11 plus 1 minute. We will send a message and I've already put the steps in chat. And please wait if you're alone in the breakout room. I can see if you're alone, I'll send somebody. Those of you who do not want to be in a breakout room, you will still be sent in room number 1 where you can be silent. So there's one person who is only listening. I've put that person in a group of 3. So have a good time practicing and I'll open the breakout rooms now. Sanjana is alone. Casper is asking for help. Ranjitha, would you like to go? I'll make sure the rooms are working okay.
Are you able to send me? Or would you like me to join?
I can send you.
Okay,
you are in, yeah, room 17. Let me search for you.
And I see Carrie has their hand raised also. Carrie?
Carrie
Hi.
wants to go. Hi.
Hi, I was in a room with one other person and the other person wasn't responding. So I was curious if you could put me in another room.
Same thing with me again.
Nicola.
Oh,
okay. Martina.
Actually, I had nobody this time. I had nobody this time.
Reena? Kanchan?
Yeah.
I don't have the
Kanchan.
room.
Yeah. Okay. So Ranjitha, are you able to find your way to room 25 or 17?
Room 25.
25 has also asked for help.
Okay.
While I send, yeah.
Okay, I will go to room 25
if you can.
in that case.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Martina, I'll, yeah.
Yes, I'm still here and I would like to go on a break.
Hi, Reena. Even I want to be in a breakout room. By mistake, I thought putting the equal sign means that I should participate, but I was wrong. Sorry.
No worries. I'll send
And
you.
I had no one in the room with me where I was.
Yeah, me too.
Monica,
I mean,
okay.
The camera was on, but there was no one there.
Casper. Yeah.
And nice to see you, Reena.
Yeah. Okay.
Reena,
One by one. Sorry, Ranjitha?
Was there another room that asked for assistance?
25. Casper
25.
came back here.
Yeah.
And yeah, 25.
So Nicola was in 25 and their partner was unresponsive. So we need another breakout room.
Yeah. Okay. I really have to search for Nicola. You were in 25.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you were in 25. I'll move you to 5.
And I wouldn't mind going to a room either. I'm just kind of waiting.
Yes, Monica.
So
You were not in any room? Were you?
There was no one else in the room where I was.
Do you remember the room you were in?
No, sorry, I didn't pay attention.
Okay, okay. Because I have to scan through different rooms to find you. I'll do that and send you. Okay, give me a
Oh,
moment.
boy.
Casper, I can see you waiting as well. Monica, you were
worries.
in room 15. And yeah, I'll send you to 18. And Corey saying no breakout. Casper, you were in 17. Can you
I can.
go back to that room? Is it possible? Because Pamela is only listening and Paul was there.
Yeah, but Paul was not there. I think he went
No?
somewhere.
Okay,
His
I
first
see him.
computer.
Okay,
That's why I
I'll
came
send
back.
you to room 5. Casper to room 5. Who else would like to go?
Me.
Corey, you're still waiting. So sorry.
Rina, would it work if I started setting up a couple of rooms?
Sure.
Would it
Please
make
do.
it faster? Okay.
Yeah, we
So-
could both do that.
Who needs a breakout room now?
Carrie, please. She's been waiting for long.
Carrie and
then
who else?
Sonal and Pallavi. Ramvida, you came back. I sent someone there. Dawn, are you wanting to go back to the room?
I can go back. Don't
Yes.
worry. The person I was
Yeah,
practicing
Samvita.
with was not responsive, so I'm happy to go back to that breakout room. I can join it. I see the option to join right here.
Okay.
Boy.
That's Carrie and Sonal in a room, and who else? Pallavi.
Pallavi. Dawn, I have sent you.
Rina, am I
Vidur,
audible?
are you waiting, Vidur? Okay.
Sapna?
Yes,
And
please.
Sapna.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to send Sapna and Pallavi to a room. Would that be okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm sending Vidur.
Oh, I don't see Sapna on my list here. That is.
Okay.
Pallavi is in 34, Rina, if you can see Sapna. Can you
Yeah.
send her there?
I saw her in room 1.
Oh, okay. So that explains. Got it. I'm moving her.
Yeah.
Done. Who's
Samvida,
next?
no one in your room? You're back?
Samvida, you're
hear
muted.
you.
We can't hear you.
Hi. Yes. The person who's there is not responding, and I've gone in and out a couple of times. But looks
Which
like.
room was
but
that?
Room number 24.
Okay. Can I send you to room 4 then?
Okay. Thank
Would
you.
you? Yeah. 24.
Oh, that's.
There's such excitement about practicing that people come back and then we send them again. And yeah. Iman, hi, are you on your way to work or something?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you joining a breakout room or no? You're driving, I guess.
No, I couldn't.
Okay.
I was picking that one.
Okay. Ranjitha, and what happened in room 25?
It was someone who didn't have a
Nikhilananda?
partner. I think this
so-
Nikhilananda person might not be at their computer. So Nicola came back
Okay.
because, oh, hi, Dawn. Dawn, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Do that. Oh, let's see. Rena talking? No.
Yeah.
Hi, Rena. Thank you for being technical support. Incredible. Anyway, I had breakout rooms, 2 of them with nobody else. Actually, the last one said Corey, no breakout, so no communication.
Oh, I see.
So much fun, right? Oh boy.
Yeah. And
Thank
we
you for
have
being
now
technical
about 4
support.
minutes. 4 minutes left, Dawn.
Oh,
I'm
well.
happy to see you and
Yeah.
a little sad that I couldn't support you the way I would have liked to.
Well,
you could take a break.
Yeah, I'll just say a
And,
little statement I do sometimes. Quality or quantity?
Yeah.
I'll
And
give you
I'll
a
share
funny
the-
I'll give you a funny example, Rena. I'm right on Washington State, just next to British Columbia. And the Canadian TV stations only have one channel, high definition. The American ones have all kinds of sub-channels, low definition, all kinds of stuff I wouldn't want to look at. So there's quantity versus quality, a simple example. And I'm really amazed and thankful that you're doing such a wonderful job being technical support.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying supporting my friend Ranjitha here. And yeah, in that adventure.
You know each other then. Oh, good.
Breakout rooms. Yes.
Well, sometimes in the breakout room, nobody else wants to talk or share or whatever. So
Dawn, I shared the steps in chat again for you, in case you just want to reflect on those, you know, with an imaginary partner or an inner part. Yeah.
If I can go to chat, I can see those maybe?
Yes, yes. I just posted it again.
I'll look at
you can have an internal conversation with two parts. I mean, just imagine and or reflect upon this.
Okay, thank
what
you.
Everyone is doing.
Thank you.
Maida, welcome.
Hi, Maida.
Could you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry,
yes.
I was just about to start my thing, and my reception was very poor, and I just got bumped out and had to rejoin again. But yeah.
Ranjitha, I've shared the steps again in chat in case you want to share with Maida.
Yeah. So
hi,
Maida. If you'd like to take a look at the chat and maybe reflect on that. Maybe
sure.
visualize somebody giving you the statement and notice what comes up for you. Self-practice.
Yeah.
Hi, Maida.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Yes, I was bumped off too. I've been waiting, but it looks as though we may not get on into the breakout rooms this time. We'll have to connect later.
Yeah, such beautiful topics. It's been really wonderful. I just, and so great that we can actually come back and, digest this a little bit at another time. But yeah, it's beautiful to be in breakout rooms too. It really brings the juice out of the exercise. Yeah.
Wow. People will be back in about 50 seconds.
Great. I can avoid my reflection on things that I don't like to do.
Oh boy.
Don't
we all?
Meeting
and we'll practice again, Maida.
Yeah.
Gosh, Elizabeth or Maida. I used to teach in New South Wales near Brisbane.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
We're both in Brisbane.
Well, I wasn't in Brisbane. I was in Inverell, New South Wales, south of Brisbane.
Inverell, wow.
Yeah, it was a nice town. 1970s, I was teaching high school there.
Oh, great.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a small world, isn't it? Are you in Washington State now, Don?
Washington State, very close to Canada, British Columbia.
Yep. Are you in Portland or somewhere else?
No, north of Seattle. It's called Bellingham, Whatcom County. It's right on the border, 49th parallel.
Oh, okay. Right.
So, Australia, Canada, US, my favorite countries.
Yeah.
And I live next to Canada now.
Yeah. Lovely. Yeah, I hope to see it one day.
Ranjitha, everyone is back now.
Thank you, Reena, and welcome back. I'm enjoying, I want to name that I'm enjoying this, being able to connect with each other across continents and noticing the challenges that technology brings us as well. So a lot of appreciation for the enthusiasm to practice and acknowledgement that for some of you, perhaps it didn't go the way you imagined it would be because your partner was missing or you dropped off the call or something. So if that was the case for you, please, I'd like to invite you to do this by yourself as a self-reflection after this session at some point when you can. Or perhaps you'd like to practice it with an empathy buddy. I'd love to hear from maybe 2 people how that was for you, noticing your own reactivity, what cued you into your reactivity. And for anyone else, if you'd like to share, please put something into the chat and I'll receive you there. I see Simi, you have your hand up.
Yes, hi. So thanks Ranjitha, first of all, for this session. And okay, I was, when you started off, I didn't really think anything would happen because it's a very short session. However, I was very surprised with the emotions. So firstly, I should thank Kay. She was amazing. I didn't get a chance to thank her enough. This session finished before I could thank her. So thank you, Kay. You were amazing. But I think it brought intense, I didn't realize, but it brought intense anger the first time she told me. The second time she told me, I was overwhelmed and I actually felt my tears pricking my eyes. And I was surprised. I didn't think this would happen, but I was happy that I noticed that, and I'm sure the next time this happens, I'm going to notice it. So thank you for this exercise. It was very, very enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you, Simi. And part of what you shared really resonates with my own experience, that often when I hear it, I'm so reactive that I don't have the space to notice what's happening inside of me. And so for me, this is a practice I've sort of, I don't know, maybe invented for myself as a way of tuning out of my thinking and reactivity and tuning into what's happening right now. And the suggestion, if you'd like to explore this further, any of you, is to perhaps do this with an empathy buddy and ask them to repeat the trigger statement 4 or 5 times and see if hearing it again and again offers you the space to connect more deeply with your feelings. So thank you for sharing that, Simi. I'm glad to know that it landed, that it was supported. Seeing a couple more responses in the chat. Strong sensations in the body, astonished to discover feelings, not the ones I thought I felt. Yeah, this has been my experience also. Sometimes I think I'm feeling something, but when I'm actually taking the time to be present to myself, I discover what I'm actually feeling. Yes, Ansa.
Hi. I think that what you said about to be less reactive, I think I used to do like I have to be reactive, like I have to. Now I know that I can choose to be to pause, and even I can choose to not react or to make a response maybe later on, not in the moment. What do you think about that? Is that the meaning?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, what it means is it's about really checking in with myself, reminding myself to pause. And once I take the pause, I want to make a conscious choice about how I want to respond. And that responding could take different forms. It could mean, hearing you right now, or expressing how I feel, or it could mean a conscious response could also be, I have a sense that I'm getting beyond capacity. So I want to move away now so that I can nourish myself, I can recharge myself and come back to this conversation later. So maybe all I'm able to do in this moment is communicate this to the other person. I'd really love to hold this conversation with care, and I want to take a break so that I can care for myself and come back to this.
Okay,
and
thank you.
For me, it's not so much about the correct response. The question I want to ask myself is, am I making a conscious choice, or am I being fueled by my reactivity? That's what I'm going for.
Thank you.
We have a few more minutes, and I'd like to share something that Yeah, if you can see my screen, could you give me a thumbs up?
Yes, Ranjitha.
Yes, thank you. So I like to imagine this spaciousness inside of me. My response comes from spaciousness. And I like to imagine it like circles, concentric circles that go on widening. When I have very little space, when I have almost zero space, I experience fear, shame, guilt. I'm in a reactive state. And it's almost as if I can't control what I do next. So that's when I remind, and I'm hoping that what you discovered during this exercise will give you the cues to remember when to pause. So I know I'm getting reactive. For example, for me is when I notice that my face starts getting hot, my ears start getting hotter. I notice a buzzing in my forehead. And perhaps for you, that looks a little different, something you discovered during this little practice that we did. When I notice that, I take a pause. And what I want to do, what I'm doing next really depends on how much capacity or spaciousness I experience inside of myself. If I'm feeling a little bit spacious, I might choose to be in silent empathy with the other person. It means that's all I have space for in this moment, and that's fine. I'm making that choice with awareness. If I have a bit more space, I might make an empathy guess. If I have a bit more space, for me, expression is a stretch during these moments. So for me, I need a lot more space to be able to express myself. So I can just take a look, once I've taken the pause, I can ask myself, how much can I stretch in this moment? What's a choice? What is my response? Am I choosing my response? So I'm sharing this visual in the hope that it supports you in looking at what your options are in the moment. And yeah, this is something that I'm hoping will support you in choosing a response. And if there's anything more, I'd love to receive you on the chat. I notice we're moving towards the close of this time. I want to share a couple of things that I found supportive, and I noticed that building capacity to respond to another person's, I see a request for the slides. So Reena, would you be able to put it into the chat, the link, if you can?
Yes, yes, yeah. I can do that.
I've noticed for myself that there are two things that go into building my capacity to respond. One is practices and reminders that help me to take a pause in the moment. That's one. What I shared with you is one example of that practice, one example of a practice that can support you. The second is, what can I do to increase my capacity in general? These could include self-empathy, empathy, journaling, any way in which you can spend more time increasing your ability to stay with discomfort. I find that both of these sort of contribute to how I'm able to hold space for myself and for the other person in the face of reactivity. So Simi, I'm seeing your question. Could you elaborate on making an empathy guess? So to take the situation that I shared, the other person says, you say you'll do something, but you never follow up on it. That was my trigger statement. An empathy guess would look like, okay, I take a pause and then I have wondering about what need this person might be expressing. Because at the core of all anger is a need that's being expressed. It's just that it's being expressed in a way that makes it harder for me to hear it. So maybe I go, is it that you'd really like trust that when I say I'll do something, it'll be done? Is it that you're wanting reassurance? So an empathy guess for me means checking with the other person. I'm hearing that this is what really matters to you at this moment. Am I getting you?
Got it. Thank you.
So I see Eva's here. Hi, Eva. And in a few minutes, we'll be transitioning into Eva's session. Eva is going to be talking to us about empathy. So before that, I'd just love to, I'd like to remind you of a couple of things. One is this is a celebration of Jim's book, the launch of Jim's book. So please buy as many copies as you can and share that with friends, family, people who you'd love to share this gift of NVC with. The proceeds go towards CNVC. And please consider making a donation to CNVC if you can. There's also a link to share feedback about the event, which Rina's put into the chat. Please, please take a few minutes at some point today to share your feedback with all of us. And if you'd like to continue this conversation with me, Rina will be putting in my contact details into the chat as well. So as a closing, I'd like to, one moment, Francesca.
Okay.
As a closing, I'd love to hear about how this session was for you and any needs that were met. I'd love for you to put that into the chat. And I'm going to be taking a look at that as we close. It's been sweet to be with you all. Thank you for joining me. I experience a sense of companionship in unlearning patterns that I've created for myself, sort of maybe unwittingly. So that's it from me. And Francesca, I heard that you have a question. Would it be okay with you if we could chat with each other on Zoom so that I can hand over to Eva for her session now?
Okay.
I don't see you. Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know how to do it.
I'm going to send you a hi on chat so that we can continue speaking.
You're going to send me a what?
Thank you.
I'll send you a message on chat, Francesca.
Okay.
So you can respond to that. All right. Thank you all for joining me. It's been a joy to be here, and over to Eva now.
Thank you for that wonderful session, which I really enjoyed taking part of, to come into the mood. So thank you everyone for being here and supporting the launch of Jim's book, Pathways to Nonviolent Communication. And we just heard a little bit, but we just put in the links again. This is, so in a few minutes, I'll be talking about the topic on empathy. And I want to first say a bit about CNVC, the Center for Nonviolent Communication that Masha Rosenberg founded about 35 years ago. And the mission to make NVC available for all the people who want to learn it. And because of the effects of the global pandemic, CNVC lost a big part of its income because the international intensive trainings could not take place. It was, we changed a lot, and there have been like virtual intensive trainings taking place, but still CNVC would love to find other ways to support, financially support what they are doing, spreading NVC. And there are two ways you can support, and this is by buying Jim's book, or by donating, to CNVC. And I'll put the links in the chat. There are already links in the chat, maybe the donation link too. So thank you, Wolfgang, who is tech support for this hour. Right.